What if you went the opposite way and you felt big and then you were able to think big and you were able to bring that change? What would that give you? Happiness? Resiliency? Would that bring a sense of empowerment? Hi, thank you for joining me for this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I'm Vicki Baird, intuitive life coach, and someone who is always scanning for pertinent information or just things that catch my attention. And I do it on such an unconscious level at this point. I think all of us do, but I have this awareness that's developed over the years of working with amazing people that when I hear something and it's like, ooh, that's a moment, or that's a golden nugget, that's something that interests me, intrigues me, because I have such a love for words. And yes, because I'm a good talker, I'm a good listener. So back up the story here a little bit. I was in New York City with my granddaughter extraordinaire and my partner Mike, and we were walking through the train station, and there was all this commotion, of course, because there's so many people to and fro doing what they need to do, and it's like everything went quiet, and I heard this one gentleman say, I'm thinking about hiring a coach or getting some therapy because I think big, but I feel small. My one regret, I didn't run after him and not promote myself, but say to him, you are onto something. That's a brilliant statement. How amazing of you for realizing that. And wow, it's made an impact on me. I had a thought at the time, and I had time. We weren't rushed to get our train. But I also thought, "Ooh, how rude like, to just kind of ambush the guy and affirm, but also, come on, that means I was eavesdropping. But we were passing at such a pace, because, we're good walkers, that I feel like this was spirit dropping me in this and dropping this in my lap. So I'll also trust spirit to somehow get this podcast to him. So thank you, man, about 28, 29, somewhere in that area, about 6'3". From what I remember, light brown hair, like very light, probably enhanced as mine has been. So this statement, I think big, but feel small, is so impactful because I don't know any human, at least that I've come in contact with, who hasn't had this feeling at some time, but maybe it wasn't as clearly stated. And that's what I actually wanted to affirm to him too, is what clarity you have around this to understand that this is what's going on and to want help in next steps. Like, how do I acknowledge this? What are some of the challenges that come from it? What are some of the steps that I could take to change this feeling or this belief within me? And, what would some of the benefits of changing be? See, that's where my head went. When I heard that, I'm always impressed at people's bravery about being willing to speak. And then very interested in the person he's with because he felt confident enough to share this with this other gentleman who was walking with him. So I thought, all right, I guess I can't quantify it that way, but if most humans have felt this, why not do this as a topic? This was about a month and a half ago, but it stayed at the top of my brain because I know what this feels like as a human, as a soul. Your soul comes in and it thinks big for you. It believes in every bit of possibility that you have within you. And the human aspect of you, while brings its own abilities, is also going to bring some kind of like slow your roll, hold your horses, dial that back. Wait a minute. This is scary. It's just the dance that we do and the agreement we have. Because if you were to completely follow your soul's think big, it could be dangerous at times because the soul knows us to be eternal and doesn't really get worried about walking into traffic or standing too close to the side of a cliff. Not my favorite thing. I like heights, but that next to that edge, not for me. So my soul is like, well, you can fly. So what's the problem? And my human self is gravity. Gravity's the problem. And it's not so much the fall, but the landing that concerns me. So I thought I would bring this brilliant young man's observation to you. And in doing so, as I was thinking through the process and planning this episode out, I went through it for myself. Like, where are you thinking big, but feeling small? And it's very applicable because especially when you're an entrepreneur, the ideas come fast and furious. And I've never seen any of those movies as a little aside there, but I love the reference. They come in fast and they come in furious and they come in feeling so big and yet feeling possible. And then still bumping into my own ego around, well, who am I to bring this to the world? Or what if everybody thinks the idea of loving oneself is inconsequential and can't really have the impact on the world that I believe it can? So this, I believe, is inherent in all of us. And I also see it as a challenge to show up. So what are some of the challenges of thinking big but feeling small? Well, it can create an incongruity in your life because feeling small, despite thinking big, can create an inner conflict and inconsistency. So the incongruency comes from the start-stop method of, well, I think big, I'm going to start this and I'm going to get into it. And then feeling small, you're like, let me back it off or avoid it or go do something else, not realizing that you're avoiding. So that incongruency can feel, I don't know, failing is such a big word because I believe that if we get up again or we try something else, doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but we try something else, you haven't actually failed. You've changed course or charted a new direction. But it can feel like you're failing, like you just can't stick to something, like you have attention diverse the highest level. So that can be a real challenge with this thinking big, feeling small dance that we do, which leads to self-doubt, right? And a lack of confidence in your capability or your ability to carry things out. I have this conversation with myself often, even though I have a platform, I have the markers, I have the data, I have a wonderful business. The self-doubt about, am I even contributing and am I bringing something to the world? Am I showing up in a way that is supportive of my own life, my own soul's journey, and my own process? And I know that every human goes through this at some point. You may not witness that in others in this lifetime, but every human goes through this. So that self-doubt place can be paralyzed. It can lead to both the fear of failure and the fear of success, right? Like, who am I to carry this through and bring it out and, navigate the world in a place of self-confidence? Well, you deserve to have that. We all do. But it can bring this think big, feel small, can bring such a fear that this is going to fail. Like I said earlier, it may discourage you from taking risks. It may keep you complacent and to have you not expanding, which eventually in life, we're going to have to because your soul is going to call that out. So sometimes when that happens, I'll say, Vicki, you may absolutely fail. And there are things that I have done. I launched it and it didn't fly as it wasn't as uh, interactive as I wanted it to be. I still have an app. You can absolutely go join the Vicki Baird coaching app through my website. If you'd like a link, send us a message. We'll send one out. We'll include it in the show notes here where, we chat in there. We get together. We have community roundhouses and things. And that fear of the first app not working has gotten in the way of me developing and bringing more of what I really want, which is community and a safe place, because we will kick out the you-know-whats, no tolerance for kind of bullying or any of that. Everyone welcome. But the fear of failure, I think big, I want my own, created my own apps, so much energy, time, and money on that. And then had to deal with the feeling of small when I recognized that this isn't actually what I want. I want to control the environment and not always be learning about the patches and all of that kind of stuff. So this think big, feel small can show up in so many ways. And then you have to do the process. Cultivating self-compassion, which is really where I had to go on that particular experience, was that you didn't fail, Vicki. You learned a lot through that. I've since helped a couple clients develop their apps that are doing fabulously well. And I know it's because they were in complete alignment with that. And they didn't mind always being on call for that kind of thing, where that's not where I am in life. So yes, I get the universal humor around this. So one of the other challenges of believing and being caught up in being feel small is that it can lead to limited actions, which leads to stagnation, right? Like not taking chances and playing it safe and not expanding, which can hinder your personal growth or your professional growth. So if you have great ideas for your company and you don't own this company, but you never speak up in a meeting, that's think big, feel small. And it can lead to missed opportunities because not speaking up can often have you putting yourself in your own particular corner, in your own box, but it can also have you missing the opportunities that are there. Because when you think big and feel big, and when I say feel big, I mean like self-surety, self-confidence, the awareness that I'm okay even if I say something that someone else doesn't agree with or thinks is a big old goose egg. I'm still okay myself. When you feel that and when you've cultivated that within yourself, you're willing to see where the doors can open and where those particular levels of success could be for yourself. Personal, professional, spiritual, all levels of success, right? It's the success compass. We look at success as that feeling of joy of all of your life, not necessarily the markers capitalistic societies put on it. Okay, so thinking big but feeling small and not allowing yourself to step out or to suggest will absolutely lead to missed opportunities, because it takes a bit of bravery to be able to step forward and say, here's my idea, here's where this is what I'd like to contribute. What do you think? And not be attached to the outcome, which also leads to some underachievement and, as related to your potential. And I laugh because I know this personally. I know where I underachieve and even back up. I told you I did my work around this in my research. There's nothing I bring in a podcast topic that I have put myself through the works to, because to me that would be inauthentic, and integrity is really important. This underachievement place is something I've been dancing with, grappling with on the floor, punching within myself this whole year. And I'm just come to the place of that self-compassion and seeking support and embracing the learning process, which are all the steps that we need to change this belief that I may think big, but I have to feel small. We don't have to feel anything. We choose to feel. And when you're aware of what you're feeling, then you can address it, right? So the underachievement space is one determined by self. This is not anyone else putting pressure on you or putting pressure on myself to achieve a certain level. This is totally self-directed. There's a feeling that knowing, think big, is coming from a place of knowing within you of your expansiveness, of your consciousness. And to be clear, this does not mean showing up big on stage or to announce it to the world. Think big, feel big can be that you admit that you're pretty awesome and you like yourself. That would be the ultimate think big, feel big, right? Because you're allowing your full feel to fill up with who you are. That would be amazing. But one of the other challenges of this underachievement and kind of stagnation and coasting, sometimes I have to ask people in the coaching relationship, does it feel like you're coasting? Because there can be a feeling of contentment. Brilliant, wonderful aspiration. Something I want for all beings is this contentment. But there can also be coasting, that we lie to ourselves and say, I'm practicing contentment. I'm in contentment. So just a differentiation. Feel out, are you in a place of underachieving? If you're in a place of rest, don't worry about it. Listen to your brain. If there's like some ego message of underachievement, remember that the ego is there to support us, to build us up, to help us grow too. So I'm not talking about the critic message of you suck, you're underachieving. I'm talking about that message of, are we underachieving here? Could we do more? Am I capable of just a smidge more? Like listening to that voice and being willing to consider that. And you may come back and you say, yeah, I am. But you know what? I'm in a moment of rest. And this is where I am in my life right now, is a moment of resting. Now, resting is different than coasting. If you're coasting, you're kind of oblivious to what's going on around you or the call from your own soul and from the spirit world, from the physical world. So being able to differentiate and ask yourself and really go with, am I in a place of underachievement where I'm ignoring my think big, feel big potential? Am I in a place of awareness of that yes, absolutely, I can feel the call to think big, feel big, and I'm in a moment of rest and contemplation right now? Or do I feel think big, feel big, and I'm doing the la, 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 la. I don't want to pay attention to it, so therefore I'm coasting. Just being able to feel out, don't judge any of them, especially the last one. But being able to feel that out will give you direction in what action, being in the East, taking that action that I need to do. So we're going to contemplate, we're going to listen from the North and bring in our soul. We're going to consider our physical self. Does it need rest? Have you just come through a period of life where, it was hammer down, everything was go, and you need some contemplation or you need some assimilation time? Or are you phoning and you're just coasting? So being able to ask oneself, then you can decide, okay, I have been phoning it in. My physical self knows this. I'm going to go to the East and take some actions. Well, what are some of those actions? I'm glad you asked. We're going to talk about some of those. And these are some steps that I took. There's some steps that I also work with people around, but these are the steps I took when considering this brilliant young man's observation. And thank you, Spirit, for putting a bullhorn on that so I could hear it in cacophony this way. So some of the steps that you could do to change the belief system of think big, feel small is self-awareness. It's all about self-awareness. The first step is always going to be self-awareness. Like, where are you even in relation to your world? Acknowledge the belief. Acknowledge it. What impact is it having on your life? Is it running your life? Is it having you not show up completely in your life? Is it giving you a reason to talk unsupportively? Kind of word. It is now. Is it giving you a reason to criticize yourself? Well, I think big, but I feel small, so I suck. Acknowledge the belief. Turn to it. Personify it and say, I see you there, belief. I am willing to change you. I am taking the steps to change this belief, to change you, and I'd like you to come along with me. Because when you're doing that, you'll be able to challenge that negative self-talk or the negative thoughts. You're never in charge of your first thought. The thought that just pops in, you are not in charge of that. You're not to blame for that, nor is it something you're doing wrong. But you are responsible for acknowledging and seeing if it doesn't align with you, because thoughts can align and that would be amazing. But we have to acknowledge the ones that are coming in that aren't supportive and be willing to call them, identify, challenge that negative self-talk. Challenge it. Don't put up your dukes. Don't fight it, because your subconscious is just going to get contentious and it's going to want to fight. So you challenge negative self-talk with compassion. You challenge it with understanding. You challenge it with support and embracing, giving it a little whoa. Because otherwise it'll just build on itself. If you don't give it some kind of love, it's not gonna want to dissipate. It's just gonna. And then from there, you set some realistic goals, right? Like, you get your big thoughts. I love doing a big thought picture. Like, what's the big thought? And then let's work. You've heard me say micro movements matter. Incremental change adds up. Taking those small steps all adds up. We've been fed a line of that magic pill, or that overnight success, or that you just do this one thing and you'll be a multimillionaire. Some of it may be true, but overall, for most of us, it's going to be a micro movements matter, setting realistic goals. So I'm a big fan of taking that big goal and putting it out there, writing it out, and doing a flow chart from there of, okay, if this is the really big picture and the really big goal, what has to happen in order for that to manifest? And then what has to happen in order for that to manifest? And then what has to happen in order for that to manifest? There must be action. No magic wand going on here. Okay, so when you set realistic goals, you get to the place in where it's something you can absolutely do today. If your big thought is a completely clean house, well, we don't start there, because cleaning your whole house is a big workout, and it can be emotionally, physically, even spiritually taxing. The energy is all cluttered. So if the idea is a completely clean house, when working with someone in this idea, I always ask them to close their eyes, imagine their home, feel the space that is the most cluttered. I do not care where it is. It does not matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's the drawer in your bathroom that's all cluttered and full of stuff that should have been thrown out a long time ago. Whatever it is, because I promise you, your energy field is processing that every day, and so is your brain. And that can act as like the clog or the plug, keeps you from doing the kitchen counters. So set your realistic goal. Yes, you want your whole house clean, but we have to start in the small space that would make you feel the most accomplished. And in order to do that, you have to tap into your physical self to feel what that is. Now, it's the same process, no matter what it is. If the really think big is to be financially solvent, well, then let's look at the smallest bill you have and let's pay that off. And then let's move up the scale. So thinking big in that context, you would have to sit down and you would have to write down everything that you own. It's a powerful place to do it. Go ahead and do it. It takes deep breaths. It takes maybe getting up and walking around and shedding some energy during the process. Get it all together, write it all down, write down what's the minimum due, write down what is the total due. And then we're going to look at the smallest bill and we're going to pay on that. And maybe we're going to pay double on it, because then you're going to work your way up to the top. Okay. So no matter what it is, you set a realistic goal, because what? Absolutely. We have to celebrate all of the wins, all of the wins. And I am not going to call them small wins or big wins. They're all wins in my book. Anything that is accomplished, you have to do the happy dance. All right. Whatever your happy dance looks like, you need to do that, because that will reinforce to this belief system that not only do we think big, but we feel big too, because we feel really big feelings about accomplishing things. And when you celebrate the wins, what's the win of the day? What's the win of the hour? You get to recognize your accomplishments and you get to pat yourself on the back. And I just don't believe that there's a minor accomplishment. I think they're all big. So this is a way to shift some of the energy to the think big, feel big, right? And then you will also cultivate some self-compassion about those things that haven't done. Like, there is a basket of laundry waiting for me to put it away in my closet right now that I put in there on Monday. Today's Wednesday. And it would take me 5 minutes. I commit to you after recording this that I will go do that. And then I will feel big about that accomplishment for the hour. So it doesn't matter what it is. Your brain, your electrical system, your emotional, your spiritual system doesn't know what you just won about. It just knows you're a winner. That you did it. You created it in order to be there. Now, if you have difficulty in doing that, we'll seek support. We don't have to do this alone. Community is where we grow. Community is where we expand our world. And being aware of what's going on in our world and looking outside of ourselves to include the world. So maybe you need to seek support. Maybe there's a friend that could be an accountability partner, a coach, a therapist, someone that could provide guidance, perspective, remind you that you're awesome. And that didn't you tell me that you accomplished this the other day? I feel like that's a large part of my role with people. Is I'll remember their wins and I'll remember what they accomplished. And I will say, okay, I hear the trepidation in your voice and I feel the fear in your system. Can I remind you about that time where you felt the same? You moved forward and you accomplished this, because we can be tough on ourselves and realizing that we need support. So think big, feel big. You can appreciate that there's learning in everything. I do not believe that we are tested or there's a lesson we have to learn, but I do believe that there's learning in every experience. So when you embrace that idea, feeling small and acknowledging that you feel small, it's an opportunity to learn from, well, why do I feel small? Who am I measuring myself against? Why am I measuring myself against anything? Where is the opportunity here to grow? Because if I feel small, I have an opportunity to grow. And where do I want that to be? And what can I learn about this? Where in the past have I applied the same belief, consciously or subconsciously, maybe even unconsciously? Have I done this? And where did that lead me? So you build up the learning process in that, and you get excited about learning. You literally embrace the fact that everything that feels like it has contention can be an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Self-awareness. Remember, go back to the first thing, self-awareness. And it takes being willing to take action, because all of this is about action. You're human, you're physical. You're going to have to take action. Stop resenting. It's not going to help you. It's going to waste energy. And yes, I speak to myself on this too. Like there are times where I'll walk by something and know I need to put that away, or laundry, for instance, and I don't do it. Some off-kilter way to judge myself or to feel small. And my commitment to you and my commitment to myself is to no longer do that, to take action. Again, break down the big ideas into the manageable steps, into the place that builds the success. And that eventually, you know how when you first start something, it does seem heavier, it seems like more difficult and challenging. But then once you get in the practice of it, you're like, oh, this is that thing that I do automatically. Like I don't even think of it anymore. Taking the recycling out to the garage, or wiping down the counters after doing dishes, brushing your teeth. The things that you don't think about any longer were once very front loaded and challenging. So you can practice visualization around this. I would recommend, in addition to visualization, you add, what does this look like? That is visualization, Vicki. What does this feel like? What does this taste like? What does this sound like? What am I perceiving about it? Describe all of those. So when you're in a visualization process, not everybody visualizes, not everybody gets a movie in their head. So when you make it about your senses, you can both practice that. So eventually you may experience the visualization, but you can also feel all the other senses. For me, because I'm very clairsentient, often if I get into the excitement of something, I'm much more likely to take action. If I visualize it, I can dismiss. I have dismissed it. I've been like, oh, that's a nice movie. Move on. But if I feel it, if I feel the excitement, and I will often tie it to something that was exciting for me to experience, most recently a trail ride on the horses. Well, I only rode one horse, but the trail ride, like when I tie whatever I have to do to the excitement and the sense of accomplishment that I felt staying in that saddle when it got a little dicey. At least for a first-time trail rider, it was a little dicey. We were completely safe, but there was some concerns. And making it back and brushing down the horse and putting him away, kissing him on his nose, and thanking him for the ride, that excitement, I'll bring that up inside myself, and it might be a new experience that shows up later. It's going to have to be a good one to top that. But I'll bring that, and I will feel, does this thing that I want to feel big about measure? Does it feel as good as that felt? Because what this does is it begins to build that positive self-image of yourself that you really want to experience in an everyday life, that you really want to feel secure and solid and good about yourself, right? Like, I believe that that will bring world peace. I really do. I believe that all of us, when we feel secure and love who we are, we will ripple that out. There won't be a need for contention or disagreement or fights. As beings of different beliefs, we will still have discussions and everything. I'm not going to see this in my lifetime. I know that. But it's okay for me to think big on this, to feel big on this. And this is a new experience for me too, of being able to say, this is what I really believe. And I know to be true for myself. And it doesn't matter if no one believes me, because I know it to be true for myself. And that is an example of building a positive, supportive, deeply believed in self-image, because that's one of my strengths, is my belief in people. Value that about me. So what do you value about you? Because were you to invest in your own self-image and you were to feel expansive, lit up, joyful, reverent about yourself, what could that do? Would you have an increased self-surety about yourself? Would you feel more confident in your abilities and who you are as a being? Would you then embrace challenges? Would you see them as a way of expansion and growing, more open to taking them on, to seeing the opportunities? Would you see that as part of your personal growth, almost a mission from your soul that your human self gets to, well, shift a belief, move through a belief, overcome, if you want to think of it that way. I think sometimes feels like a beating down, and I don't necessarily believe in that. But if you were to move through this belief and shift, would it lead to happiness? Significant self-growth through happiness. Just imagine it. It's going to lead to success. It's going to lead to success in all areas. The joy of life leads to success in all areas. Not something that will be there 100% of the time. That's not possible, because you're going to experience these contrasts and these desires for growth. You will. Thank you for doing that, for being human, and for listening to your soul. But if you were to think big and feel big, if you were to think expansive and feel expansive, if you were to feel expansive and then think expansively, what if you flipped it? What if you went the opposite way and you felt big and then you were able to think big and you were able to bring that change? What would that give you? Happiness, resiliency, empowerment? We did bench press and back squats last night. My arms are a little sore. But would that bring a sense of empowerment? Changing the belief will empower you. And you're not going to get such a big fat head that you won't fit through the door. If you're listening to this podcast, I do not believe you to have narcissistic tendencies. We all have a little bit in us, but that's, I think, to direct us to ourselves for that self-awareness. See, it all starts in self-awareness. It would help you to build stronger relationships. Imagine if you felt sure of yourself. So no matter who you were meeting with, you didn't feel less than or slighted or insignificant or unvalued. Imagine that. And I'm talking about a true belief in self, not a cockiness or attitude. I'm talking about that sense of empowerment that's so deeply wired within you that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. It doesn't matter, because that's not your business. It would help you to create stronger relationships, because you will be bringing baggage to whatever relationships that you're engaging in, and you will see the others in their full light as well. Be willing to see the humanness that they're bringing. It will impact your relationship because it's going to reduce the self-doubt that you're carrying around. And wouldn't that just be lovely? I can tell you, with the level that I have cultivated within myself, and I'm not being a braggadocious, because why would you listen to me if I haven't already figured this out for myself, right? There's always going to be expansion, but I can be with anyone and feel okay about myself because of the work I've done for decades, but because of this belief that if I'm good within myself and I am listening to my soul and I am feeling loving towards me, I can feel loving towards anyone on the planet. I will have boundaries and not necessarily want to associate with everyone on the planet. But because of this, my relationships grow stronger because I'm not looking for anyone to validate me. I don't need that anymore. I don't even want that, because I don't want the other person to feel obligated to do that for me. Some people will still do it because they feel or they think I need that pat on the back. Hey, I'll take compliments. I'm happy to do those. But I don't need someone to fill up my sense of self, because I'm in charge of that. You're in charge of yours. It will build stronger relationships because you also won't put up with bullshit from people who aren't bringing their best self either. You just won't tolerate it because you're doing the work to feel expansive, to feel lit up, to feel your full potential, you're not going to be interested in those that are phoning in. You're not. And that will raise your your frequency as well. And that will lead to a sense of fulfillment so that you can feel expansive, think expansively. Imagine what this world could be if we were able to create. Changing a belief takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's good because, again, no magic wands. It will lead to a more fulfilling, purpose-driven life. Your purpose is your gig. That's not for me to say. But when you do some of these steps, actively practice this, you will unlock a potential you did not even know was in you to live an authentic and fulfilling life. And I want that for you. I want that for me. I want that for all sentient beings. So thank you for showing up. I thank you for listening, watching this, subscribing to Vicki Baird Coaching, wherever I am, all over the place, and for your comments and for being you. I sincerely appreciate you being part of my experience, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.